Even though the Rabbitohs are a good team on paper, I can't see that much improvement coming from them this season. Last year was the first year they've missed the finals since all the way back in 2017, making the prelim, the grand final in each of those 5 seasons. Last season, they finished the year with 12 wins. Interestingly, the betting companies have set the over-under at 13.5 for this upcoming season, which I think is a game and a half to 2 games too high. I have them winning 12 games this season. Last year, they really struggled at home. They only won 4 of 12 matches. They were solid on the road. So that's a positive sign and something that they haven't always done over the years, but generally they've been pretty good at home. However, that wasn't the case. They only averaged 18.1 points in home games. And that was their first losing record at home since 2017. So that's a key area of improvement for them. When we look at their overall rankings from last season, they were ranked 13th in attack, down there with teams like Canberra, Dragons. Roosters were down there last year, Bulldogs and Tigers. Obviously, those two are a little bit, like you can see the ranking points, those two really drop away. Then also in defense, they're only ranked 9th in defense. So not all that great in either category. I think their success this season really does depend on how their aging players in their spine go. Damien Cook's 33 this year. Cody Walker's 34 this year. Obviously playing hooker and 5'8", those are key position players getting on towards right at the end of their career. And I just think they're not going to be strong enough for the Rabbitohs to really make a run at it this year. And then obviously you got to factor in Latrell Mitchell. How many games is he going to miss? Since he transferred over from the Roosters 4 seasons ago, he's only played 14 to 17 games per season for the Rabbitohs. So weighing in the fact that he's probably going to miss 7, 8, 9 games, most likely this season, that makes things tough. I think getting Jack Wyden into the team, playing in the centers, will take a little bit of pressure off if Latrell Mitchell does need to win games, does need to miss games. But if they stay fit throughout the year, I still think that is a little bit off the best teams and like the top 4, top 6 teams. Ilias playing halfback, I don't think he's quite there yet. So there's definitely, issues with their spine, like injuries, age, and experience. And I think they're just being a little bit overrated. Like they do have a good team on paper, and we've seen, over the past 5 years or so, they've been a top 4 team in all of those seasons except last year. Looking at their schedule, they go to Vegas to play Manly in week 1. Then they got to come back, go play the Broncos in Brisbane, and then play the Roosters. So we'll get a really good guide on the Rabbitohs through those first 3 weeks. How they perform during that period is going to be, a really good indicator on how they're going to go on the season overall. Looking at the betting odds for them for this season, interestingly, they're only $9.50 to win the premiership, which I think is far too short. I think the $1.45 to make the top 8 is also way too short. I wouldn't be getting involved in either of those prices at all. They have the 16th ranked schedule this season, slightly more difficult than last year, but it's 3rd hardest in the league. So it's not like they're going to get an easy time of it by any means either. So they're really going to have to be at their best to be winning. At home, there you can see the 18.1 points per game compared to 28.9 away from home. But yeah, I think the key with the Rabbitohs this season is definitely staying healthy. They can improve a few areas in attack, such as the meters per play, only averaging 9.1 meters per play, and only averaging, or they're ranked 14th in tackle breaks. So interestingly, they still were ranked 4th in line breaks, 14th in tackle breaks. So I think the line breaks may drop off a touch unless they improve the number of tackles they make the opposition miss. Most categories for attack, they are ranked in the top 8. They're 7 in points per game, but 23.5, largely thanks to their averages on the road. And they do have the number 2 ranked left edge attack, which is a real big positive going against teams where they have a weak left edge. Teams with a strong left edge defense, though, will pose a little bit of a problem for South Sydney. From a defensive perspective, 8th in points conceded. Then as we look across, 11th in meters conceded per play. So this is a little bit part of the issue that forward pack needs to step up. Ranked in the bottom 7 teams in both meters per play and meters conceded per play. Team that doesn't really miss. Well, this is a little bit of a concern. They're only 4th in line breaks conceded, but well down in meters conceded. So per play. So, that's a little bit of an issue, but don't miss all that many tackles, which is a positive. So they have a strong enough defense to be competitive, but I think they're a little bit overrated last season. If we look at the betting data for the Rabbitohs, move this out of the way. Last season, they only covered 9 of 24 games, only covered 2 of 12 at home, 7 of 20 as a favorite. As a home favorite, only covered 1 of 10. So they're being really overvalued as a home favorite. So that's something to definitely be wary of. And losing record against spread, both in day matches and night matches. Also, when they're a favorite by less than a try, so up to like minus half a point to -6, they only covered 3 of 11 in that situation. So not being able to cover as a small favorite. From a total betting perspective, 14 of their 24 games went under. When they're a favorite, 12 of 20 went under. Home favorite, 7 of 10 went under the total. Those are the main ones that we're leaning towards, the unders there last season. From a margin perspective, 8 of their 12 wins were by 13 plus. So they did beat up on teams when they were winning games. Total points, the Rabbitohs, majority of the time, they're between 11 to 20 points. A few too many games there with 4 scoring 10 points or less. They kept their opponent to 20 points or less in 13 games last season, which from that perspective is pretty good numbers. But yeah, overall for the Rabbitohs this upcoming season, and from a betting perspective, I definitely would be cautious backing them to win the premiership, and even I would stay away from backing them to make the top 8. $1.45, definitely too short. A team that it's not going to take many injuries or key players out of form for them to drop off. And it definitely is good to find teams like this where they have been good over the previous years and you're predicting them to drop off, because they're the situations where you can make a lot of money from. So I'm doing previews like this for every single team for the upcoming 2024 NRL season. Check them out on the YouTube channel so you can get the full breakdown of every single team so you can make as much money as possible this NRL season.